Good morning, welcome to Headline Focus here live on Core Politics with me, Rob Double. It is Wednesday the 7th of March 2018. Let's have a look at what's making the political headlines today. So it's a real jam-packed day in terms of events going on in the UK today, in terms of politics. Let's start off with the first one, and that is a leaked commission report which came through last night of Theresa May, the Prime Minister's Mansion House speech last week. Now this is of course where she outlined in further detail the UK's view of what an EU-UK position future trading relationship should look like post-Brexit. Now, it wasn't particularly complimentary. That's probably the summary I could give to that. The Prime Minister was accused of double cherry-picking, and that's the key line that's come through in a lot of the papers you'll probably see today. And that, by that, the EU mean wanting key benefits of EU membership and of third-party trading arrangements. Now, the big quote which has also come through is that the speech was long on aspirations but short on workable solutions that would respect the EU 27 principles. So pretty harsh critique there, and no doubt that will filter through too. Today, Donald Tusk, the European Council President, is holding a press conference in which he will table the draft guidelines for the trade deal with the UK and EU post-Brexit. So effectively, this is the EU coming forward now with their idea of what the trading relationship will be after the UK's Mansion House speech by the Prime Minister outlining the UK's position. And now the EU 27 will revise these guidelines, which Donald Tusk will put forward today. So it's by no means a set thing. Whatever you hear today in terms of what Donald Tusk says, it's not set in stone. It's subject to negotiations within the EU 27 bloc. But by the European Council meeting later this month, we will then the EU 27 will hopefully then decide and vote and approve a final EU position on the future trading relationship, which will then be subject to negotiations with the UK in the Brexit negotiations. So a lot of process to go through, but that's to give you a bit of a timeline and a bit of a context. The European Parliament, who of course have a stake in the Brexit negotiations, will also vote on their draft position on the future relationship with Britain. Next Tuesday, in the plenary sessions in Strasbourg, the European Parliament leaders are going to be deciding and talking amongst each other today and finalising what the draft agreement is going to look like. But that will be there, doing interviews with MEPs in Strasbourg next week, so keep an eye out for that as well. And finally, a third Brexit thing, Philip Hammond, the Chancellor, is giving his speech on Brexit. He's finally been released to be given the chance to deliver a more financial-centred Brexit speech. Now here he's going to warn that European consumers will pay dearly if Brussels tries to punish the city in any kind of Brexit deal. Now that's specifically to do with financial services, which the EU have said cannot be part of any kind of future trade deal and relationship. Now he's quoted as saying, "It is time to address the sceptics who say a trade deal, including financial services, cannot be done because it has never been done before. To them I say every trade deal the EU has ever done has been unique." Now, next up, the Saudi Crown Prince is visiting the UK today. Saudi Arabia's former reforming Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman. He's got a 3-day visit to the UK. His first global tour, actually, since taking office. He's only been in the job for about 9 months. As Crown Prince, he's basically the de facto leader of Saudi Arabia. He'll be meeting pretty much every single senior figure, including the Prime Minister Theresa May and the Queen, and the Duke of Cambridge and the Prince of Wales as well. Why are we rolling out the red carpet for the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia? Well, very, very importantly, security is a huge aspect of our relationship with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia shares an enormous amount of intelligence with the UK, which the Prime Minister has said has saved British lives on British streets. There's also a second element to this as well, which is the billions of pounds worth of arms trading with Saudi Arabia, which the Minister insists depends, tens of thousands of jobs in the UK depend on. Obviously, that is the controversial element. And as a result, hundreds of protesters from groups including Stop the War and Campaign Against Arms Trade will reportedly be gathering outside Downing Street today in protest. Jeremy Corbyn, leader of the Labour Party, will be using the trip or says that the Prime Minister should use the trip to announce that the UK will no longer be supplying arms to Saudi Arabia while devastating Saudi-led bombing of Yemen continues. So really controversial stuff here in terms of what the Saudi visit is about, but nonetheless, in the next 3 days, expect more lines than that, and suspect, perhaps in Prime Minister's questions, Jeremy Corbyn to be bringing that up at around 12 o'clock today as well. One more story then. This is coming through now. Remember we covered yesterday in terms of the possible Russia poisoning of a former Russian agent in the UK. No one still knows what's happening. It's all alleged, it's all reported, but the Home Secretary, Amber Rudd, will chair an emergency meeting of the Cobra Committee to try and go through what do we know more in terms of the details of the poisoning. Now, Sergei Skripal and his daughter remain critically ill in hospital after being exposed to this unknown substance. He's obviously a former Kremlin agent, was living in the UK under his real name. Authorities still have no idea what the poison actually was. The military scientists at Britain's secret lab in Portland Down are still trying to work that out, reportedly. If it is Russia, just to give a bit of context, been reported today, it will be the first known case of the Kremlin trying to kill an agent after a spy swap. So very, very interesting precedent as well. Boris Johnson, the Foreign Secretary in the Commons, has quoted as saying, "Russia is, I'm afraid, in many respects now a malign and disruptive force." And that is indeed what a lot of the papers are running with and reporting on today as well. Russian Foreign Ministry have dismissed Boris Johnson's remarks as wild. That's pretty much it for today. Massive agenda, as you can see, but you're up to date. Don't forget you can find all the latest on what we're doing here on Core Politics on our Facebook page and at Twitter right here. But from me and all the team here at Core London, I will see you tomorrow.